We cannot wait any longer. Men are in need of community, brotherhood, and a place to call home. The time is now, and that place is NGBN TV. Powered by men just like you, dedicated to launching a one-of-a-kind streaming TV network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Our goal is to inspire, entertain, celebrate, educate, and support men. The NGBN TV sneak peek is launching January 29th. We need you on this journey with us. Ad rates at NGBN TV will never be this low again. So join our movement on NGBN.TV and contact us today. NGBN TV, a network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Coming January 29th. Pick Up the Six is sponsored by Mudgear. Mudgear serves the unleashed with gear for the modern hybrid athlete that's made tougher. They've created strong, functional performance gear like their performance shirts, shorts, and socks. I wear Mudgear on the regular. Whether it's for a road race, an obstacle adventure, or a ruck, Mudgear can help you gear up for extreme performance. Go to mudgear.com, use the code PUT6, and save 15% off today. Hey guys, Brian Jodis back with another episode of Pick Up the Six. Absolutely thrilled that you are saddling up with us here for another episode of the show, watching us either on YouTube or, of course, on NGBN TV. Today is 15 January. That means in 2 weeks, 14 days, we will launch our exclusive sneak peek of NGBN. Go to NGBN.TV, check out more information there, and you can get ready to download it on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, your smartphone. This thing is real. It's happening in 14 days. And we're so thrilled to bring you this micro niche streaming platform for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s as we aim to save men's lives. I'm so pumped for our guest today. It's Evan Slaughter. You might know him as FIT2SERVE. It's how I know him. It's how I got to meet him the very first time I met him. He doesn't even write. I'm watching his content come in. And our friends over at Purple Heart Homes and putting the pieces back together had him on. And I reached out, and Evan was so kind to jump on the show with us. So, Evan, how are you, man?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. Glad that Brad connected us for sure.
No doubt. The mustache level on the show has gone up exponentially in just the last 30 seconds alone. Dude, you were telling me before we got on the air here, you're like on a whirlwind. You're just trying to get home. You're just like on a whirlwind trip. And the guy literally just got home after delays from Miami through North Carolina to get him back to Alabama. It's like, thanks, man. Thanks for doing all that.
I probably look like it too, man. You know, the hair's a big piece for me, but it's not this wild. But yeah, so but no, it's all good, man. I'm happy to be here, and was able to rest a little bit last night, then fly back into Birmingham today. So I'm pumped.
It's amazing, dude. This guy's a ball of energy. If you follow FIT2SERVE1, that's the Instagram account. You know this guy. And if you've seen it, you see this face. You're like, I've seen this guy. He's absolutely killing it in the content creation space. 170,000 followers on Instagram, but using it to talk about fun stuff, but also just to talk about his own journeys in life and fitness. And it's a journey that was in the military, right? Like heavily active, went downrange, right? Went to Afghanistan, right? Served in the Army. But has been a refocus sort of on himself as we go. So, brother, what's that journey been like, right? I mean, to go from that military life, right? And then to just sort of blink and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm out of shape and I need to do something. You mind taking me back to that a little bit?
Man, it's it was a journey for sure, and still is a journey in a lot of ways, but a much better part of the journey. So yeah, man, in the Army, joined as an infantryman, airborne school, went to SOPSI and SF selection. And then, of course, I ended up coming in a little late on the last RUCA selection. So didn't pass the selection process, but because of being qualified for it and not being a voluntary withdrawal and all those things, and just, was able to pass a lot of the physical tests and everything to do that. Surveillance unit. And, LURS unit in Fort Hood, which was awesome. It turned out to be a huge benefit and really good opportunity. Got to do a lot of cool things. Deployed with them to Afghanistan, and then of course while in country, hit an IED, injure my ankle, all that kind of good stuff. Purple Heart recipient, all that. And then come back and get out and just have no idea what I'm gonna do next. I back, kind of bad on opiates at the time, dealing with pain management stuff, getting hooked on those, and then get out of the Army with no plan and not sure where I was gonna go. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
been a
it's
journey
it's
for
it
sure.
it sure has, man. But it's also we've been talking about it a lot. I'm wearing the Enough sweatshirt today with my Green Beret buddy Lowell Copper to 56 Brave, where we partnered up with a bunch of special operators and veterans last November. You guys remember we showed you right where we hiked across South Carolina, because that story that you share, unfortunately, is just far too common.
Yeah.
It's like you get out, you're kind of like a little directionless at the time. And then if you've got an injury like that, you start getting pumped. And look, I'm not anti-pharmaceutical or anti-drug, but like, man, you just get pumped with all those things that can put you in a bad spot. I mean, did you feel like you blinked and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I'm in a bad way?
Well, I had struggled prior to the military with some addiction issues, just partying too hard in high school,
Mm,
partying too hard in college. I've got a dad that, is sober now, but went through some addiction stuff even in his 40s, went to rehab. I remember while I was, 16, 17 years old. So I got to see it firsthand, and I carried on that same kind of gene. So for me, it was definitely something I should have been aware of. That's always been what I've struggled with, though, is just been opiates. It's nothing else. Alcohol's never been a problem for me, nothing like that. But something about opiates, it just flips a switch. And so after getting injured, and then having what I would consider, a valid reason to be taking these painkillers,
yeah.
it's easier to get, tell yourself I need this, and then get hooked on it. And so that was my experience, and I found that since then, since getting off of it, there's so many better solutions for how to deal, because my
Mm,
injury to my ankle is not, you know super super serious. It was a dislocated tendon. I think there is a surgery option for it, but it's one of those things that you don't really have to do unless it just becomes so bad that it's the only option. So I chose not to do the surgery deal. um so I found that since coming off of that, anytime it does hurt, guess what also works? Aspirin,
right.
stretching. I just the typical stuff that we have heard, most our life to deal with injuries like that. And so, yeah, I've found, so that was the thing. I'm not anti-pharmaceutical by any means either. I think there's a place for all that stuff, or most of it at least. Um, for me, it was, but I think where the military especially gets it wrong is that's the go-to solution,
That's
right?
it. It's like right out of a box. Like
Go-to
you just plug and
solution.
play. Right.
And I feel like they're maybe working on that. I've seen a lot, get better at the VA, at least in my experience. Um, so hopefully, they're coming up with other solutions.
But you're talking about, man, having to kick that like I mean, cold turkey. You're like, I'm done. Like, how did you go through it? Was it just a day at a time kind of deal? What was the thought process?
No, the law enforcement got involved whenever I tried to prescribe myself some medication that I was not authorized to do.
Hmm.
So I literally, I was also coming, on Valium and stuff, leaving for PTSD stuff, and then getting that
Wow.
from a civilian doctor, which really messes with your mind. And yeah, and it was definitely a divine intervention,
Mm.
stepping in my opinion. But yeah, I tried to prescribe myself some medication whenever I ran out too soon, and of course go to pharmacy to pick it up. They had it was a setup, they knew what was going on, and I get arrested, and that started the path for sure for me to getting some help, because I was offered veterans court, and I was actually arrested in the county that started veterans court for the state of Alabama.
Mm.
So it was a good thing. They put me
Yeah.
through some treatment. They drug test you. You report to court every couple of weeks, and if you complete the program, then they drop the charge. It's not on your record, and you move forward. And they help you get plugged in with the VA. And like I said at the time, I was fresh out of the military when this started to happen, so it helped me get on the right path. And I struggled on and off, just kind of since then, and then ended up going to one more treatment center after that. That was a 3-month long deal to really, but it was more about just kind of turning my life around. You know what I mean? Like I had
Yeah.
to get some direction back and get some purpose back in my life and figure out, and it just helped in a lot of different ways. So definitely
It's
started the process though.
It sounds like, our mutual friend, Brad Borders,
Yeah.
affectionately great friend of the show. I mean, God, Brad sent more people our way. I probably got to give him some sort of co-producer credit here at Pick Up
Right.
the Six. I mean, he's just constantly, but
Yeah.
he's a big part of that Veterans Court program where he's at out in
Yeah.
Statesville, North Carolina. And it sounds like a great program. I need to go visit it and just see it. Because
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
just imagine, right? Like I feel for a guy being thrust into a situation like that. And, unfortunately, sometimes, man, it takes almost hitting rock bottom like that
Yeah.
before you start having to dig back out. That dig back out process
Yeah.
for you, right? What was that like? And then at what point does content creation and this idea of fit to serve come to play? Give me the genesis of it. Because right when people see now, they're like, this guy is funny, but he's
Right.
relatable. He's doing all this great content. That probably just doesn't happen overnight, right?
It definitely doesn't happen overnight. You mentioned rock bottom, and that's definitely what I ended up reaching was what I consider my bottom, and I've always heard the bottom can get lower, you can knock the ceiling out of it and fall another floor down. And I've definitely learned that. But yeah, I just got to a place where life was either, and unfortunately it happens so much more. It's like either kill yourself or do so, you go wind up in prison, or you go, because you're miserable. Life isn't worth living. And I discovered that the issue was outside of the getting off the opiates and stuff, even removing the opiates. It's like, all right, I'm not living in what I believe is my purpose. That was the big thing. I was miserable in the jobs I was doing. Of course, you come out of an infantry unit, long range surveillance unit, and then I went straight to multifamily real estate with an office job. And, so you go from
Like,
that
this
chaos
is
and
way different.
deployment.
This is
Yeah,
way
yeah.
different.
And you're miserable. I talked about
Yeah.
that on another podcast. Zachary from Vet with a Sign, who's got a big platform, does a lot of stuff in
Yeah,
Nashville
that guy's
area.
amazing. Yep,
He's
that's right.
awesome. He's got a podcast he just started and had me on episode number 2, and we were both kind of sharing about the chaos. He said, I think a lot of times veterans, we like the chaos of things. So when that chaos is removed, you kind of have to create your own the chaos of deployment or whatever, or just living that Army life. And, when it's removed, you kind of sometimes look to create your own chaos. And I think that's exactly what I was doing. I was looking to create my own chaos. And now I'm creating my own chaos in another way. You know what I mean? And
That's
it's a
true. That is
positive way.
true.
It's
That
a
is true.
positive way. I took some steps. So to answer your question, I mean, it's like, get sober, all that stuff. Things are going good. I realize I'm miserable, and I didn't want to go back to an office setting. And fortunately, I had a little bit of real estate that I was able to sell at a time real estate was doing really good. And it was actually 2022, not long ago. And so I sell this real estate. I've got money in the bank. I pay off all my debt. And look at it. I said, I've got a little bit of time here. I've got probably 4 or 5 months where I don't have to get a job.
Right.
I want to pursue this comedy thing. I was always into comedy. I was always into, enjoyed acting, and my mom's real theatrical. She's been involved in drama a lot of her life, from high school, college stuff, just plays that she would participate in. And I just felt like I had a little bit of that in me from birth, and loved comedy, always the funny guy, making people laugh. I was like, now how can I use this? Because I enjoyed making the videos, and it was fun to me to see what worked. And then whenever I finally had some stuff start working on TikTok, and I was like, had some videos go viral, I was like, okay, this is me. This is my original organic content. It's me coming up with these ideas, and people are relating to it and finding it funny. And that kind of motivated me to keep going. And it just went further and further as I continued to create the comedy thing and kept growing an audience. And then I realized, like, now, what am I going to do with this audience?
Yeah.
That was the thing, is like, I didn't want to just, bring humor to people's lives, which is great. That's a big part of it. If that's all you get whenever you come to my page, awesome. But because I was doing a lot of fitness related stuff, kind of poking fun at myself, trying to get back in shape. I got out of shape through the opiate addiction, all that stuff, unhealthy habits, got sober, started finding comfort in eating bad food, you
Mhm.
know, just all that stuff, lazy, you know. And so I was trying to get back in shape. Well, I found that through the humor, I was getting messages from people reaching out directly saying, "Hey, look, I know this is funny, it's comedy stuff, but your videos really help me to gain the confidence to get back in the gym or to get
Outstanding.
out and go outside and move again." And, you know, because you don't see a guy like me who's just typical, you know, out of shape dude, overweight at the time, you know, losing weight now and getting back in shape, but shirt off, you know, doing all this stuff in the fitness space. You know, you
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
Instagram right now and search fitness, and what are you going to see? You're going to see a bunch of jacked dudes, you know, a bunch of jacked women, bunch of good looking people at the gym doing all these workouts to motivational music with quotes, but, you know,
Right.
and that's intimidating for
Sure.
someone who's
Sure.
out of shape that's been on the couch
Becomes a barrier to entry
recently.
for
Yeah.
other people. I
And
want
they,
to talk more about
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, the message, right, the deep meaning of that. Let's take a quick commercial break, right? Got a couple bills to pay. We'll come right back, and I'm going to show Evan the first piece of content that he created that I saw, where I
Yes.
was like, "Oh, this
Uh-oh.
guy is outstanding." All right, we'll be right back. Hey guys, we introduced you to Joe Baker on episode 170. Joe is a great guy and owner of Joe Baker Fitness, where he has training programs to take you to the next level. I was feeling a little stuck in my weight training and focus. Joe's put me on one of his plans, which includes access to workouts that he drops into a coaching app, feedback and instruction, as well as a great community called The Bakery. I've seen legit strength gains in just a few months, and I can't wait to see what awaits me at each workout. Go to joebakerfitness.com, check him out today, tell him Brian and Pick Up the Six sent you. He's a great guy and a for sure friend of the show. Amino Vital is on a mission to provide the highest quality amino acid-based nutritional products to all athletes aspiring to improve their conditioning and performance. They are a partner of our efforts here at Pick Up the Six, and I use their product before, during, and after workouts. They offer the purest and highest quality of amino acid products that help hydration and recovery. Check them out at amino-vital.com and use the code PUT6 to save 20% off today. Evan, we did a 10 and a half mile ruck, 30-pound pack, right, hike with probably about 8 guys on Saturday morning. And needless to say, after 10 and a half miles under the ruck, it's a pretty hilly course we were on, mutt kind of trails. My body was a little battered and bruised and sore. The recovery Amino Vital, man, those BCAAs right in the system for me, helped out a ton. Love those guys.
Yeah.
Have been great sponsor of the show, so appreciate them. I got Evan Slaughter. He's known as FIT2SERVE. FIT2SERVE 1 is the Instagram account. You guys know him. If you're looking at that face, like, I know this guy. I'm so glad he's here, bro. This has been super fun to talk. I want to talk more about the message, right? Taking that comedic style, but then pushing it forward. But here's the first thing you've made a lot of stuff. This is the first thing I saw that you made. And at the jump, I was like, oh, I got to watch more of this. Let's watch this. I want you to tell me about this piece.
All right.
Hit this run, brother. Hey, if you need to pace me, that's fine. But just know that I'm not going to be able to slow down for you. I got to keep going, at my pace. Runner approaching from the left. Are you sure you don't want to hit this Vaseline before we go, man? I just get it all in the grundle down there because you know how it chafes. You don't want to go heel to toe, okay? You want to stay right here on the balls of your feet, short steps and chopping. You see how less energy I'm using? I mean, I could do this all day, bro. Move to your right. Runner approaching from the left. Runner, right side. Runner, right side. What the hell? Yeah, right in the grundle area. Hey, dude, if you're pacing me, you should be walking right now. Because I take a deliberate walk break about halfway through. Whoa, guys, hey, this ain't for bikes over here. This is runners and walkers only. Keep the bikes on the bike path, please. I don't want to have to get the park ranger out here, dude. I don't.
Runner right side. See, there's a lot of truth in there, man.
Yeah.
First shot. I'm like, okay, my man's willing to put himself
Got
out.
him hooked. Got him
Got
hooked.
him. You got to give him the goods.
They're watching now.
Right. Selling the steak and the sizzle. So you guys get a sense, right? And if you've seen, man, go to his page. If you haven't been there, I know most of you probably have. And there's just a lot of that. These ideas, right? The concepts, the ideas. You talk about weaving comedy, but then also right now we're going to go through this fitness journey with you, right? So how does that evolve? And man, where do these ideas come from for stuff you want to try out and bring to life in video like that?
Well, so a lot of it, what people I think that don't know anything about me, they just see some dude that's out of shape, that's showing a lot of skin and funny about it. They think maybe I'm making fun of it, making fun of runners or the running community, which is funny because those are the people that love the video the most.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I didn't know what clip you were going to show. But being a veteran, I was like, I bet it's the running one because I've got the silkies on, right? And
Gotta
so
love the
a
silkies,
lot
man.
of they see that, they're like, I'm hooked. So, but they don't know that I was in the Army. They don't know that when I got out of the Army, I was still running over 13 miles at a time. Like I was into running for a little while, So they don't know. That's why I know the lingo. That's why I know the terms. That's why I know the running community. A lot of times when I do the comedy stuff, it's in spaces that I'm experienced in. So yeah, I was just trying to get back into running and also trying to do comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came up with these concepts about, because everybody's got that friend that just started something and they call you and tell you about it and they go all in, right? They're
Those are
the
some of those
guy
first
now.
ones too. It's the
Yeah,
same thing, right? The guy after his
CrossFitters,
second CrossFit workout.
yeah,
Noticed,
pickleball, all
yeah.
that.
What I noticed that I thought is really cool is I've noticed a shift in your messaging recently, a lot more about your journey, the process, mental health, all those things. Did you feel like you had to get them in early, right? With a lot of comedy to then kind of maybe set up to have a little bit of a deeper conversation? I mean, did you plan that out? Is it just sort of the way things have kind of, I don't know, grown a little bit in that space for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great question because it definitely wasn't planned. The planned part, I would say, is the comedy sketches. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
planned. That's what's thought out. That's what's more deliberate. That's what's trying to build the platform. That's what a lot of companies reach out about to market products for and stuff like that. But for me, it was like I was kind of saying, I was getting a lot of questions about where'd you come up with the name Fit to Serve? What does that mean? Which I'll answer. But then I was also, like I mentioned earlier, feel a little bit of a responsibility because I like to share my story. I like to, I want to be positive to people. I want to encourage people. I think there's so much negativity out there that we just need some laughs. And the way I kind of started doing that at first was anytime someone would say something negative, which is not super often. I have a very positive audience for the most part, but every now and then you get some jackass that wants to make a comment, and they know nothing about me. They know nothing about my background. They just want to talk about my weight or my, and so instead of blasting that person or deleting their comment or whatever, I decided to start pinning those negative comments to the top and then responding in a way that shows them, no matter what you say about me, I'm still going to show you some love, like, hey, yeah, you're right, man. I do have some weight to lose, right? Definitely working on that. Have a great week. Just trying to show
Like,
some kindness.
he's nice. Shoot.
Yeah. And I mean, what are you going to say to that? If you want to keep coming at me after that, great.
Right.
But most of the time they don't. And a lot of times I've even gotten people that have come back and apologized for what they said after that, which is not the reason I do it, but it was just, and I do that a lot for me too. I mean, it's really a strength exercise for me because in the past, especially military mindset, infantry guy, tough, quick to fight, right? No one's going to get over on me kind of mindset. I'm short, so I got short man syndrome anyways, so a lot of times in my past and younger days, that was my solution, And I found, especially after getting sober, that all that anger and resentment and hate and all that stuff is just poison for someone. It's poison mentally, it's poison physically. So I had to start practicing some grace, and realize like, hey, this person, they might be miserable. They might be addicted to something. They might, they might need to be shown some kindness and some love. And maybe they've never had anybody do that. Maybe they're not close with their family. Maybe they're alone, maybe this guy's, 2 days away from blowing his brains out. You know what I mean?
You don't know. You just don't know what people are carrying, man.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And it's also, I found that reacting with anger and hate and stuff, that's weakness, really. I used to think it was strength, like to fight and stand up and talk back, and that's not what strength is. That's for me not what being a man,
Yeah.
is. What is, is kindness. Like it's easier to flip somebody off in traffic when they cut you off, but try extending them some grace. That's hard. That's hard for someone like me to do. But when I do it,
Yeah.
I grow from it and I feel so much better. So that started pushing the positive message out there. And I was like, I'm going to share more of this.
I use the grocery store example to your point, where if you're in that self-checkout and you're behind somebody who's just taking forever and you want to just scream like, please, like just hurry up.
Yeah.
But what if they're having the worst day of their life?
Right.
You don't know. You don't know. Same thing with somebody cut you off in traffic.
Yeah.
You don't know. They could be a dick. They could be. I don't know.
Right.
But what if they're having the worst day of their life or the second worst? What if their
Right.
mom just died? What if their wife just left him? What if that guy is on his way to blow his brain? You just don't know, man. Right. And I don't want to just sit by idly and just take the other way of it. I just think there's a better way to do it. I think you're 100% right. There's a better way to do it. So to respond that way is a great way to do it. All right. You've mentioned a few times, right? Getting back in shape. Bro, I saw you put up 405.
365, not 405. It was deceiving with the plates, but I'm trying to get to it was 3 plates and then one of the big 25.
Oh, one of the big plates. God, that's an honest man right there.
Well,
he could have told us about this.
My goal,
I know.
So.
Well, still, because I was like, oh, listen, 365 is no joke.
Good. That's solid. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that's real solid. All right. Well, good. Honest man, too. That's good. What else you get into these days, man? I know you love to lift weights, right? I know you love pickleball. Tell me about just kind of finding that and that love.
Dude, it's been, what's funny about it is the pickleball thing came from the last rehab that I was at. That's where I learned it. They had a little crappy pickleball court. It wasn't even regulation size. It was basically used for a basketball court, a half-court basketball court, but it was too short. It wasn't the right length of a pickleball court. So we used to play, we'd have to put this piece of plywood down and stand on the plywood to serve from and then step up onto the concrete to play. And that's where I was first introduced to a friend of mine there. He was like, you got to play, you got to try it out. Started playing, fell in love with it, ended up finishing the rehab stuff and then continuing my pickleball journey. And then started making some comedy videos around it and it took off. It's like, I would say fitness, CrossFit, and pickleball are my 2 biggest audiences, probably pretty equal, close to equal in size. And so, and what's great about that is I knew nothing about it until I went to that place and sobered up. And then actually recently this December, I was able, because I'm sponsored, got my own pickleball paddle out now, got sponsored by stuff. I was able to take the company Valair Pickleball that sponsors me with the paddles and stuff and makes my signature paddle. They gave me a big box of 40 paddles, which they retail at like $129 a paddle. Yeah. I took 40 paddles down to that rehab this December and donated them back and got to see the executive director, and they had fixed the court and had, someone donated and poured concrete. So now it's a legitimate court size. And I took all those paddles down. So it was just a really full circle moment for me. So that's how I got into the pickleball stuff, man. But making content full time keeps me occupied, You
ever think back like to those tough days where you're kind of in the bottom of the barrel and then to think now and be like, dude, people are paying me to travel around the country and the world to come speak. Thousands and millions of people are watching what I'm creating. Like, just what a journey, man.
I got chills when you said that, because it really is. It's one of those things that's when you're in it and it's happening and it's fast moving and you're traveling as much as I've been traveling and sometimes you don't take the time to sit back and go, dang, dude, this is unreal. But it comes back to me for that purpose, living in your purpose. And which is where, kind of FIT2SERVE came from. That's where I get that from. It's not fit to serve in the military. A lot of people think that. It's not fit to serve like physically fit. We're all equipped in some way to be of service and live out a purpose. So oftentimes use the school teacher example. I can tell you right now, Brian, I am not equipped to be a school teacher.
To
You know,
say-
I don't have the patience. I can't deal with it. But there's people out there that are. They
Yeah.
love it. They obviously don't do it for the money. They love kids. They love educating. And so they go to work and it doesn't feel like work for them. I mean, I'm sure some days do, you know, if the paycheck weren't there, they probably wouldn't do it, but but there's a purpose behind that.
Yeah.
You know, they're carrying out a purpose for them. For me, I feel like that's the comedy aspect. You know, I love making people laugh. And I used to use humor to be defensive or put people down or to make myself look better. And that's only hurtful, you know? So being able to use humor and then push a positive message at the same time is what I feel like I'm fit to, you know, that's my capacity to serve. That's how I'm fit to serve. So
I love it. I love it. It's man, it's like being able to just every day do what you were born to do for those who you were born to serve. And there's a great quote, and I've said it, man, probably dozens of times on this show as it specifically relates to purpose. Somebody told me this years ago. It's just always stuck with me. It's not your strength that holds you to your purpose. It's the strength of the purpose itself.
wow.
Strongest physically, mentally, spiritually. But
Say that one more time for me.
Right? It's not your strength that holds you to your purpose. It's the strength of the purpose itself.
Dang.
That why, right? It's
That's
good.
good.
I know.
Yeah,
I didn't make it up. I wish it was mine.
Use it.
It wasn't. Anybody can. Yeah. That's the way this works, right? Somebody gave it to me.
That's good.
Man, it's been absolutely amazing. Brother, this has been so much fun, man. I mean, just more fun. I can't wait to see where the journey takes you. This is the first time we've ever met. We don't really know each other that well. I feel like we do now after talking.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you for not giving in those really tough moments. And that's why you got to keep plugging away. That's why we're launching this streaming TV network, because enough is enough, right? And guys, if you're watching the two of us right now and you're on tough times and things are stacking up and it feels like the water's crashing over the side of the boat, it might be, but there's more to come, right? You've got immense value. My brother right here is a living testimony to that, for not giving in, not giving up, even when it could have been an easier way to go. And sticking out. Look what he's doing now. It's amazing.
Yeah. Love it.
Yep. All right, bro. Let's stay in touch, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, buddy.
Awesome. All right. His Instagram, FIT2SERVE 1, the number 1, FIT2SERVE.
Yep.
He's Evan Slaughter. Been an absolute blast. Let's do this again sometime.
Dude, totally. I would love to.
All right. I'm Brian Jodis. That's been this episode of Pick Up the Six.